There was a mirror in the old oak tree, the one that stood alone past the field and next to the little creek. Abigail liked to visit there. She liked to visit there often, especially on the cold autumn days when her parents were too tired to watch her. Wading through tall grasses, avoiding the spider webs and roaming bees, she made her way to the tall, leafless oak and stood in front of the mirror that grew out its backside. The tall mirror, taller than her anyways, was always crystal clear, with antique wooden edges like the one around her mommy's bed frame. Its wood was white, and the oak's was brown. She tried a couple of times to get the mirror to bulge, but the tree held it too firm. Such a pretty mirror, the way it glistened in the sun. And she saw herself in it, with her cherub face and wheat-colored hair. She smiled, and she, the one in the mirror, would smile back. They'd talk. "What do you want to do today?" she'd ask. "Oh, nothing really," she replied. "It's just fun to talk." And she'd stay out there for hours, talking, playing, usually with rocks, rolling in the grass and watching the waters trickle down the creek. She enjoyed the time she spent with herself, her imaginary friend in the mirror's reflection. So much so, she did it every day. Every single day she visited her friend to at least say, "Hello." But, as she did so, she started to grow weary. She felt that the mirror was fading. For each day she went, the sky seemed a little bit darker, a little bit more gloomy. Even if the skies above were pale blue. A child, she didn't think about it for too long. What was there to think? It was only in October, when the mirror started to noticeably reflect the night, that she became concerned. No longer did the mirror glisten. The mirror felt dark, like the mouth of a cave. In it, she could still see herself, her reflection, just like always. But it felt off. She was still as bright, still as present, consumed by night and shadow. And she always looked sad. Always sad. The mirror had grown dreary. Abigail decided, with the consult of her best imaginary friend, of course, that it wouldn't get her down. She'd still play, even if her best friend was covered in shadow. And they did play. They played and talked and played some more. Until Abigail stopped and stared, looking past her friend and into the background of the image. In the reflection, across the creek, something crept amongst the weeds. A creature with pale skin and cruel eyes. The corners of its mouth sharpened to a point as it beamed at her. "There's something behind you," Abigail whispered cautiously to her friend. "Look." And so Abigail turned, and behind her, across the creek, by the weeds, there was nothing. Nothing but day. A gray autumn day. Grinning, excited to see that nothing was there, she turned to give her friend the good news. "That was scary," she said, turning. "I thought there was really—" Her reflection, her best imaginary friend, was crying. She was crying because the gangly beast had snuck across the river, and it was licking her face. Abigail screamed and fell, tripping over her own boots. She looked away as the image in the mirror began to play on like some awful movie. The creature coiled around her reflection, biting, tearing, all before Abigail's very eyes. There was a splatter upon the surface of the glass. A crimson splatter. And not Abigail's side of the glass. Panicked, Abigail found one of her rocks, and with a reckless throw, she shattered the mirror. She covered her face as the glass toppled downward, scattering amongst the roots and grass. When they had all fallen, she saw the tree and the gaping opening where the mirror used to be. It looked like a cave, deep, black, and very unwelcoming. Abigail cried as she stood up, ready to run back to the house, horrified at what she had just witnessed. But that wasn't the worst of it. Something came flying out of the hole in the old oak's tree trunk, and it landed in a heap right next to Abigail. Her reflection, made real. Abigail screamed as she scrambled away from her own corpse. She screamed louder, and spindly fingers reached outwards, pulling the smiling creature out from the dark heart of the tree.